On this episode of Storytime Audio, we delve into a gripping tale of love, betrayal, and redemption. Titled, Heartbreak and Healing. The journey of a soldier betrayed by his cheating wife. This story follows Ryan Bennett as he navigates the tumultuous aftermath of discovering his wife's infidelity. Set against the vibrant backdrop of Austin, Texas, Ryan's journey takes him from heartbreak to a new beginning, exploring the depths of human emotions and the resilience needed to rebuild a shattered life. Get ready to immerse yourself in a powerful narrative that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Ryan Bennett drove through the dimly lit streets of Austin on a Saturday night in late 2022. The city was alive with its usual buzz of nightlife, but tonight he wasn't in the mood to join in the festivities. He had a nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach, something he couldn't shake off. His wife, Hannah, had been acting strangely for the past few months. She'd been spending more and more time away from home, always with some excuse about meeting friends or needing a break. Tonight, she claimed she was going to a book club meeting, but Ryan wasn't convinced. He parked his truck outside a popular bar downtown, the kind of place where people came to forget their troubles with loud music and strong drinks. As he walked towards the entrance, he felt a mix of anxiety and determination. He had to know the truth. Inside, the music was deafening, and the crowd was thick. It took him a few minutes to spot Hannah. She was on the dance floor, moving to the beat of the music, her arms draped around a man's neck. The sight of her there, looking so carefree and intimately close to someone else, made Ryan's blood boil. He pushed through the crowd, ignoring the irritated glances and muttered complaints from those he bumped into. When he reached her, he grabbed her hands off the man's neck and started pulling her away. "Hey man, what the hell do you think you're doing?" her dance partner asked, looking annoyed. "She's my wife, and I'm taking her home," Ryan replied, his voice steely. Any resistance the man might have had immediately disappeared. "She's all yours," the man said, raising his hands in a gesture of surrender. "Anyway, when she's drunk, it's no good having fun with her." "And when she's sober?" Ryan asked, lifting Hannah in his arms to carry her outside. "Oh, she's great then. Ask anyone. We all think she's one of the best." Ryan didn't bother responding. He carried Hannah out to his pickup truck, her protests weak and slurred. It took only a few minutes to get her to his parents' house on the outskirts of Austin. They watched with concerned eyes as he unceremoniously dumped her on the bed in the guest room. She was out like a light, probably passed out from too much alcohol. Without saying a word, Ryan left the room and headed back to his truck. His mind was racing with anger, hurt, and confusion. How had it come to this? Hannah used to be the love of his life, the woman he thought he would grow old with. Now, she was a stranger, someone who betrayed their marriage vows. Ryan drove aimlessly for a while, trying to clear his head. Memories of their past flooded his mind. They had met during a business trip to Dallas in 2017. Hannah was smart, funny, and beautiful, and he was instantly drawn to her. They dated for 18 months and got married in 2019. Those early years were blissful, filled with love and laughter. But somewhere along the way, things had changed. He thought back to their time in Germany, where they had been stationed for 3 years. It was a huge culture shock for both of them, but they had made the best of it. Hannah had thrown herself into the social scene, joining the Rookie Club and the Officer Wives Club. She had learned to play bridge and even picked up a taste for European wine. Ryan, on the other hand, had grown up in a non-drinking family and never acquired a taste for alcohol. Their next assignment had brought them back to Austin, where they moved into government quarters. For the first 6 months, they were happy, enjoying being back in familiar surroundings. But then Hannah started spending more time in the city, claiming she needed a break or was visiting friends. Ryan had noticed the changes but had hoped it was just a phase. Tonight had shattered any illusions he had left. The sight of her with another man, the way she had been so blatantly unfaithful, had broken something inside him. He knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. He needed to confront her and find out the truth. Ryan finally headed back home, his mind made up. He would talk to Hannah in the morning when she was sober. He needed to hear her side of the story, though he doubted there was any justification that could make things right. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: their marriage would never be the same again. As he pulled into the driveway, Ryan took a deep breath. This was just the beginning. The real challenge would be facing the betrayal and deciding what to do next. But he was ready for it. He had to be. Ryan grew up in a close-knit family in a small town in Texas. He was the middle child of 5 siblings: Megan, Ava, Bradley, and Ethan. Their parents, lifelong Southern Baptists, had instilled in them strong values and a sense of community. Every Wednesday night and Sunday morning, they attended church services, and gospel music filled their home on Sundays. The Bennetts didn't have much in terms of material wealth, but they were rich in love and faith. Ryan's parents had learned to read so they could study the Bible, and it was the only book they ever read. The family grew up in modest circumstances, but each of the Bennett children realized early on that they wanted a different life. As soon as they graduated high school, they left their small town to pursue their dreams. Megan and Bradley moved to Austin, where Megan found work as a cook's helper in a diner and Bradley went to truck driving school. He eventually landed a job driving for one of Austin's country music stars, a job that was worth its weight in gold. Ava and Ethan only made it as far as a nearby town, where they settled down and started their own families. Ryan took a different path. After high school, he received a 4-year Army ROTC scholarship to the University of Texas. Upon graduation, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant. His first assignment took him to South Korea for 13 months, a challenging but rewarding experience. After returning home for a short leave, he was assigned to Fort Hood, Texas. During a weekend visit to Austin, Ryan stayed with Megan. She was dating a man named Derek, who had a sister named Hannah. The 4 of them went out for dinner one night, and Ryan and Hannah hit it off immediately. By the time his leave was over, Ryan and Hannah were in a full-blown relationship. Fort Hood was only an hour away from Austin, so they spent a lot of time together. 18 months later, they were married. Hannah was a native of Austin and had never lived anywhere else. Her father was a urologist, and her mother was a stay-at-home mom. After their wedding, Ryan and Hannah did a 3-year stint in Germany, which was a huge culture shock for both of them. Hannah immersed herself in the social scene, joining various clubs and learning to play bridge. They traveled extensively, visiting Italy, Switzerland, and Spain. However, as their time in Germany came to an end, Hannah developed a taste for European wine, which became a growing concern for Ryan, who had grown up in a non-drinking family. Their next assignment brought them back to Austin, where they settled into a comfortable routine. But the cracks in their relationship began to show as Hannah started spending more and more time away from home. Ryan tried to be understanding, believing that Hannah just needed some space. But tonight, seeing her with another man, he realized that things had gone too far. Their marriage was in serious trouble, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. Ryan spent the night at his parents' house, unable to sleep. He kept replaying the events of the evening in his mind, trying to make sense of it all. The next morning, he went back to the guest room where Hannah was still sleeping. She looked peaceful, as if nothing had happened. It made him even angrier. He sat down on the edge of the bed and gently shook her awake. "Hannah, wake up. We need to talk." She groaned and turned over, trying to ignore him. But Ryan was persistent. "Hannah, get up. Now." Finally, she opened her eyes and looked at him. "What is it? Why are you waking me up so early?" "We need to talk about last night," Ryan said, his voice firm. "I saw you with that man at the bar. What the hell were you thinking?" Hannah's eyes widened in shock, and she sat up quickly. "Ryan, it's not what you think. I was just having some fun. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" Ryan repeated, incredulous. "You were all over him, Hannah. How could you do this to us?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and she looked away. "I'm sorry, Ryan. I didn't mean to hurt you. I've just been feeling so lonely and neglected lately. You're always busy with work, and I needed some attention." Ryan shook his head, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "That's no excuse for cheating, Hannah. If you were feeling lonely, you should have talked to me, not turned to someone else." Hannah wiped her tears and looked at him, her expression desperate. "Please, Ryan, give me another chance. I promise it won't happen again." Ryan took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He wanted to believe her, but the trust between them had been shattered. "I don't know, Hannah. I need some time to think about this. Right now, I'm not sure what to do." He stood up and left the room, feeling a heavy weight on his shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: their marriage would never be the same again. Ryan drove back to his parents' house, trying to clear his head. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a warm glow over the familiar landscape of his childhood. As he pulled into the driveway, his mother, Grace Bennett, was already outside, tending to her garden. She looked up, her face lighting up with a smile when she saw him. "Ryan, you're back early. Everything okay?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. He forced a smile and nodded. "Yeah, just needed to clear my head. Thought I'd come by for breakfast." Grace looked at him closely, sensing something was off, but she didn't press. "Come on in, I'll make you some pancakes." Inside, the house smelled like coffee and fresh bread. It was a comforting scent, one that reminded Ryan of simpler times. His father, Robert Bennett, was sitting at the kitchen table, reading the newspaper. "Morning, Dad," Ryan greeted, trying to sound cheerful. Robert looked up and nodded. "Morning, son. You look like you didn't sleep much." "Yeah, had a rough night," Ryan admitted, sitting down at the table. Grace busied herself at the stove, making pancakes and bacon. The kitchen was filled with the sizzle of frying bacon and the sweet smell of syrup. Ryan found himself relaxing slightly, the familiar routine of home life soothing his frayed nerves. As they ate breakfast, Grace and Robert chatted about the goings-on in their small town. Ryan listened, grateful for the distraction. But his thoughts kept drifting back to Hannah and the mess their marriage was in. After breakfast, Ryan went out to the porch with his father. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, sipping coffee and watching the morning unfold. "You know, son," Robert began, "marriage isn't always easy. Your mother and I have had our fair share of problems over the years. But we've always managed to work through them." Ryan nodded, staring into his coffee. "I know, Dad, but this feels different. Hannah cheated on me. I don't know if I can get past that." Robert sighed, his gaze steady. "It's a tough thing to deal with, no doubt about it. But you have to decide what you want, Ryan. Do you want to try and fix things, or is it too broken to mend?" Ryan looked at his father, appreciating his straightforward advice. "I don't know yet. I need some time to figure it out." Robert nodded. "Take all the time you need. Just remember, whatever you decide, we're here for you." Ryan spent the rest of the day at his parents' house, helping his father with some repairs and talking about old times. It felt good to be home, to be surrounded by the love and support of his family. By evening, he felt a little more grounded, though the weight of his problems with Hannah still loomed large. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the fields, Ryan decided it was time to head back to his own place. He needed to face Hannah and have a serious conversation about their future. He drove back to their house in silence, his mind racing with thoughts and questions. When he arrived, Hannah was sitting on the porch, her face pale and drawn. She stood up as he approached, her eyes searching his face for any sign of hope. "Ryan, please, can we talk?" she pleaded, her voice trembling. He nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yeah, we need to talk." They went inside and sat down in the living room. Hannah looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. I never meant to hurt you. I was just so lonely and confused." Ryan shook his head, feeling a surge of frustration. "Lonely and confused isn't an excuse to cheat, Hannah. If you were unhappy, you should have talked to me." She nodded, wiping her tears. "I know, and I'm so sorry. Please, Ryan, give me another chance. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." He looked at her, feeling a mix of anger, hurt, and sadness. "I need some time to think about this. I don't know if I can trust you again. But I'll try, for now. We need to take this one day at a time." Hannah nodded, relief washing over her face. "Thank you, Ryan. I promise I'll make it up to you." The next few weeks were tense and awkward. Ryan and Hannah tried to rebuild their relationship, but the trust that had been broken was hard to restore. They went to couples counseling, talked through their issues, and tried to find a way forward. But it was a slow and painful process. One weekend, Ryan decided to visit his sister Megan in Austin. He needed a break from the tension at home and hoped that spending time with his sister would help clear his mind. Megan was living in a cozy apartment downtown, working as a cook at a local diner. "Hey, big brother," Megan greeted him with a hug as he arrived. "It's so good to see you. How are things?" Ryan shrugged, giving her a tired smile. "Complicated, to say the least. I needed a break, so I thought I'd come see you." Megan nodded, understanding. "Come on in, I just made some coffee." They sat down in her living room, and Ryan filled her in on everything that had been happening. Megan listened quietly, her expression serious. "I'm sorry you're going through this, Ryan," she said when he finished. "But I'm glad you're trying to work things out. It's not going to be easy, but if you both put in the effort, maybe you can get through this." Ryan sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I hope so. I just don't know if I can ever trust her again." Megan reached out and squeezed his hand. "Give it time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight, but if she's truly sorry and committed to making things right, maybe there's hope." They spent the rest of the day catching up, reminiscing about their childhood and sharing stories. It felt good to be with Megan, to talk things out and get her perspective. By the time he left, Ryan felt a little more hopeful about the future. Back at home, Ryan and Hannah continued their efforts to rebuild their relationship. They spent more time together, went on dates, and tried to reconnect. Slowly, the tension began to ease, and they found moments of genuine happiness. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something was still missing. The betrayal had left a scar, and no matter how hard they tried, things were never quite the same. He wondered if they were just going through the motions, trying to hold on to something that was already broken. As the months went by, Ryan realized he needed to make a decision. He couldn't keep living in this limbo, unable to fully commit to their marriage but also unable to let go. It wasn't fair to either of them. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Ryan turned to Hannah. "We need to talk," he said, his voice calm but serious. She looked at him, her eyes filled with apprehension. "What is it, Ryan?" He took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything that's happened. And I've come to a decision. I can't keep living like this, Hannah. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not." Tears welled up in her eyes, and she reached out to him. "Please, Ryan, don't say that. I love you. We can make this work." He shook his head, feeling a pang of sadness. "I know you love me, and I love you too. But love isn't enough. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and without it, we're just going through the motions. I think it's time we go our separate ways." Hannah broke down in tears, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Ryan felt his heart break for her, but he knew it was the right decision. They needed to move on, to find their own paths and heal from the pain. In the weeks that followed, Ryan and Hannah went through the painful process of separating their lives. They divided their belongings, sold their house, and said their goodbyes. It was a difficult and emotional time, but Ryan felt a sense of relief. He knew it was the right choice for both of them. As he packed up the last of his things and prepared to leave, Hannah stood in the doorway, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. I hope you can find happiness." He gave her a sad smile. "I hope you do too, Hannah. Take care of yourself." With that, he left, closing the door on a chapter of his life that had been filled with both love and pain. The road ahead was uncertain, but Ryan was ready to face it. He knew he had to find his own way, to heal and move forward. Ryan settled into a small apartment in downtown Austin, trying to rebuild his life. He focused on his work, immersing himself in his duties at Fort Hood. His colleagues noticed the change in him, the way he threw himself into his work, but no one pried. They respected his privacy, giving him the space he needed. One evening, a few months after the separation, Ryan attended a military function at the officers' club. It was a formal event, filled with high-ranking officers and their spouses. Ryan wasn't particularly looking forward to it, but he knew it was important to maintain appearances and network. As he mingled with the crowd, he spotted a familiar face across the room. General Richard Carter, his commanding officer, was deep in conversation with a young woman. Ryan recognized her immediately, Madison, the general's daughter. They had met briefly at a previous event, but Ryan hadn't paid much attention at the time. Tonight, however, Madison caught his eye. She was strikingly beautiful, with long dark hair and piercing blue eyes. She moved with an air of confidence, her smile lighting up the room. Ryan found himself drawn to her, intrigued by her presence. As the evening progressed, he made his way over to where Madison was standing, chatting with a group of officers. She noticed him approaching and smiled warmly. "Captain Bennett, it's good to see you again," she greeted him. "Likewise, Madison," he replied, returning her smile. "How have you been?" They made small talk for a while, discussing everything from military life to their favorite books. Ryan found himself relaxing in her company, enjoying the easy conversation and her infectious laughter. There was something about Madison that put him at ease, a sense of warmth and genuineness that was refreshing. As the night drew to a close, Madison suggested they go for a walk outside. The cool evening air was a welcome change from the crowded, stuffy ballroom. They strolled through the gardens, the soft glow of the lanterns casting a romantic light on their surroundings. "Thank you for tonight," Madison said, looking up at him. "I had a great time." Ryan smiled. "Me too. It was nice to get away from everything for a while." They walked in silence for a few moments, enjoying the peacefulness of the night. Then Madison turned to him, her expression serious. "I heard about what happened with your wife. I'm really sorry, Ryan. That must have been incredibly hard for you." He nodded, appreciating her sympathy. "It was. But I'm trying to move on, to start over. It's not easy, but I'm getting there." Madison reached out and took his hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You're a good man, Ryan. You deserve happiness." Her words touched him deeply, and he felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, Madison. That means a lot." They continued their walk, their hands still intertwined. Ryan felt a sense of hope for the first time in months. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for him to find happiness again. Over the next few weeks, Ryan and Madison spent more time together. They went on dates, explored the city, and got to know each other better. Madison was kind, understanding, and fun to be around. She brought a lightness to Ryan's life that he hadn't felt in a long time. One evening, as they sat on the porch of Madison's apartment, she looked at him with a serious expression. "Ryan, I need to tell you something." He turned to her, sensing the gravity of her words. "What is it?" "I'm falling in love with you," she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. "I know it's fast, but I can't help how I feel. You've brought so much joy into my life, and I can't imagine not being with you." Ryan felt a rush of emotions. He had grown to care deeply for Madison, and hearing her words made his heart swell. "I'm falling in love with you too, Madison. You've brought light back into my life, and I'm so grateful for you." They kissed, sealing their newfound love with a promise of a future together. Ryan knew there would be challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them with Madison by his side. Ryan and Madison's relationship continued to blossom. They supported each other through the ups and downs of life, growing stronger as a couple with each passing day. Ryan felt a renewed sense of purpose and happiness, something he hadn't felt in a long time. As their relationship deepened, Ryan decided it was time to introduce Madison to his family. He knew it was an important step, and he wanted his family to see how much Madison meant to him. One sunny weekend, they drove to the Bennett family home in the small town where Ryan had grown up. His parents were excited to meet Madison, and his siblings were eager to get to know the woman who had captured Ryan's heart. Megan greeted them at the door with a warm hug. "Ryan, Madison, it's so good to see you both. Come on in." Inside, the house was filled with laughter and the smell of home-cooked food. Grace was bustling around the kitchen, preparing a feast for the family. Robert was in the living room, watching a football game with Bradley and Ethan. Ryan introduced Madison to everyone, and she was immediately welcomed with open arms. They spent the day eating, talking, and sharing stories. Madison fit right in, her easygoing nature and genuine interest in the family winning everyone over. After dinner, Ryan took Madison for a walk around the property. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the fields. They walked hand in hand, enjoying the peacefulness of the moment. "This place is beautiful," Madison said, looking around. "I can see why you love it here." Ryan smiled. "It's home, and I'm glad you're here to share it with me." They stopped by a large oak tree at the edge of the property, a place where Ryan had spent many hours as a child. He turned to Madison, feeling a surge of love and gratitude. "Madison, I've never been happier than I am with you. You've brought so much joy into my life, and I can't imagine my future without you." She looked at him, her eyes filled with love. "I feel the same way, Ryan. You're everything I've ever wanted." Ryan took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "Madison, will you marry me?" Her eyes widened in surprise, and then she broke into a radiant smile. "Yes, Ryan, I will marry you." He slipped a ring onto her finger, and they kissed, sealing their promise to each other. It was a moment of pure joy and love, a new beginning for both of them. As they walked back to the house, hand in hand, Ryan felt a sense of peace and contentment. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but with Madison by his side, he was ready to face them. They had found love in each other, and that was all that mattered. The next few months were a whirlwind of wedding planning and preparations. Ryan and Madison wanted a simple, intimate ceremony with their closest family and friends. They decided to get married in the garden of the Bennett family home, surrounded by the people they loved most. On a beautiful spring day in 2024, Ryan and Madison stood under the large oak tree, exchanging vows and promising to love and support each other for the rest of their lives. It was a perfect day, filled with love, laughter, and happiness. As they danced under the stars that night, surrounded by their family and friends, Ryan felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had found a new beginning, a new chapter in his life, with the woman he loved. And he knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would face them together, with love and strength. After their wedding, Ryan and Madison settled into their new life together. They moved into a cozy house in a quiet neighborhood, creating a home filled with love and laughter. Ryan continued his work at Fort Hood, while Madison pursued her passion for art, setting up a small studio in their home. They spent their weekends exploring the city, trying new restaurants, and going on adventures. They made new memories, creating a life that was uniquely theirs. Ryan felt a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. He was happy, truly happy, and he knew it was because of Madison. As the months went by, they talked about their future, their dreams, and their hopes. They wanted to start a family, to have children and build a life filled with love and joy. They knew it wouldn't always be easy, but they were ready for the journey. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Madison turned to Ryan with a smile. "Ryan, there's something I need to tell you." He looked at her, curious. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm pregnant." Ryan felt a rush of emotions, joy, excitement, and a touch of nervousness. "Really? That's amazing, Madison." They hugged, tears of happiness in their eyes. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a new adventure. Ryan couldn't wait to be a father, to share the love he had found with Madison with their child. The months of Madison's pregnancy were filled with preparations and anticipation. They decorated the nursery, attended prenatal classes, and dreamed about their future as parents. Ryan was there every step of the way, supporting Madison and sharing in her excitement. When the day finally came, Ryan was by Madison's side, holding her hand as they welcomed their baby into the world. It was a beautiful moment, filled with love and wonder. They named their son Caleb, and he quickly became the center of their world. Parenthood brought new challenges and joys. Ryan and Madison navigated sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, and the overwhelming love they felt for their son. They supported each other, leaning on their strong bond to get through the tough times and celebrate the joyful moments. Ryan found a new sense of purpose in being a father. He loved watching Caleb grow, teaching him new things, and sharing the world with him. Madison was a wonderful mother, her patience and love shining through in everything she did. Their family grew even stronger, their love deepening with each passing day. Ryan knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would face them together, with love and strength. Life was not without its challenges. Ryan's work at Fort Hood often demanded long hours and periods of deployment, but he and Madison made it work. They communicated openly, supporting each other through the tough times. One evening, as Ryan was preparing for another deployment, Madison sat with him in the living room, her expression serious. "Ryan, I know this is part of your job, but it's getting harder each time you leave." He nodded, understanding her concerns. "I know, Madison. I hate being away from you and Caleb. But this is what I signed up for." She took his hand, her eyes filled with worry. "I just want you to be safe. And I want us to be a family, together." Ryan squeezed her hand, feeling the weight of her words. "I promise I'll come back safe. And I'll always do everything I can to be with you and Caleb." The deployment was tough, but Ryan stayed focused, knowing he had a family waiting for him. He kept in touch with Madison and Caleb through video calls and letters, finding strength in their love. When he finally returned home, the reunion was filled with joy and relief. They spent the following days reconnecting, cherishing their time together. Ryan knew he was lucky to have such a loving and supportive family, and he was determined to make every moment count. As the years went by, Ryan and Madison faced more challenges, but they always faced them together. They celebrated their victories and supported each other through the tough times. Their love grew stronger, and their family thrived. Through all the ups and downs, Ryan learned the importance of trust, communication, and love. He realized that a strong relationship required effort and commitment from both partners. He also learned that it was okay to seek help and lean on others for support. Ryan and Madison's journey was filled with love, laughter, and challenges, but they faced it all together. They built a life filled with joy and strength, creating a family that was unbreakable. As they looked to the future, Ryan knew that no matter what came their way, they would face it together, with love and resilience. They had found their happily ever after, not because their life was perfect, but because they had each other. And that was all that mattered. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through heartbreak and healing. The journey of a soldier betrayed by his cheating wife, on Storytime Audio. Ryan Bennett's story of betrayal, resilience, and newfound love is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. As he navigated the pain of infidelity and found the courage to rebuild his life, we were reminded of the power of hope and the possibility of new beginnings. Stay tuned for more captivating stories that explore the complexities of life and the triumphs of the heart. Until next time, keep listening and let your imagination soar with Storytime Audio.